For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of the Son of Man, will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Become my followers. Let them deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. In the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Just take a moment, take a deep breath. Those were all really heavy readings. I'm going to be honest. I want to preach about happy things. There is so much joy and love that God gives that I could make every sermon about how to spend and accept the embarrassment of riches that is God's love for us all. And if I did that, I would miss out on the grit, the dirt under the fingernails of Jesus as he claws our lives back from the grave with irresistible strength and never failing purpose. If we've gotten a chance to talk one-on-one, you might have seen something that I'm sure I told the search committee. I'm kind of a serious person. Direct engagement with tough topics is one of the ways I find comfort. So when I read today's gospel, my serious streak won. The seriousness of what it means to follow Jesus, starting with self-denial, and then the grim determination of this one phrase: take up your cross and follow. I've reflected on this at other times and other places, but it bears saying again. Crosses are instruments of torture, gruesome deaths. The Christian use of the cross as our symbol and sign has diluted this reality into fashionable jewelry and devotional items. There are no screams of pain or cries for help in the crosses that we use. If we look around this room, we might see half a dozen crosses from any particular scene. Many of us might even fail to recognize that there are crosses at the end of every pew and the front of every prayer. To be sure, this is not the way people listening to Jesus knew about crosses. They knew them as tools of torture and terror. Take up your cross and follow me. It's an almost insane thing to say. Today's gospel comes from before Easter. In the lives of the disciples, there is no empty tomb yet. The hope of everlasting salvation from God is even more remote for the disciples in this moment than it has ever been for us who have the story of the Gospels in its entirety. Before there is resurrection, Jesus tells everyone that's listening that if they hope to follow him, they must accept torture and death as a weight to carry, as they do. Just thinking about it brings me a kind of primal fear. I, like St. Peter, don't want this to be true. One of the great questions of the modern era of the church is if there should be a church at all. Bishops, priests, deacons, and lay leaders have all looked at the systems of guidance and governance that we've built for ourselves and wondered, are we focusing on human things instead of divine ones? Even the other day, I was talking with a mentor and friend who is increasingly convinced that the church, as it is today, seems to be a deep impediment to faith for many. That's no idle statement coming from a person as experienced as they are and leading a cathedral. Add that to the sudden rebuke of St. Peter by Jesus that to hold on to human things is equivalent to being a champion for Satan. Should there be a church, then this seems a fair question, given that context. I believe that the church is not the problem, in the same way that St. Peter himself was not the problem. It's when we try to hold on to our own power, our own comfort, our way of insisting how the world has to be, or more commonly, when we fail to speak or act because it would rock the boat, when love demands that we should speak and act as our God tells us to, when we are silent is when we become tools of Satan, a mouthpiece for evil. If we are going to be God's people, and if the church is worthy, then the goal of the church, the goal of our faith as Christians, and the goal of St. Peter's confession of Jesus as Messiah must be the same as God's goal for us. The loving salvation of all people, all creation, without counting the cost. If the church is dedicated to God, then we will bear a cross, no matter the weight of it. If St. Peter is dedicated to the same goals as Jesus, then his fear-filled desire to save Jesus from death will melt away into a mix of sorrow and determination. If we seek to accept the love, seek to accept and love every created human being, no matter their demographics or differences from us, then the cross has no power for terror or pain. We can lift it without shame or fear, and follow Jesus in the divine thing that is God's work of love called life.